Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Kelly Mesher-Collins with the Diocese of Des Moines. On today's show, we're visiting with Kendall Genezer of Assumption Parish in Granger. He's written a new book that'll be available for purchase in early January called Grounded, The Trajectory of a Life Altered. It's about his life as a naval aviator and his diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. But before we get to today's interview, let's find out what's on the Bishop's mind.
Well, good morning, Kelly.
Good morning.
And the days of Advent continue to unfold, and now we move into the days of the O antiphons. So the marvelous antiphons of the office that really truly say the Lord is soon to come to us, and all the beautiful images, the key of David, O Manuel, all the different ones, O seat of wisdom. So we just continue to pray and allow these words to enfold us in the mystery of the coming Christ, but his ongoing love and expectation that we have. When I visit school kids, they're quick to tell me how many days to Christmas. I'm looking forward next week to celebrating finally with the young people at St. Malachy School in Creston. Oh, that'll be a day they'll be bouncing off the walls. It's their last day of school before Christmas break. Do you remember those days?
Yes,
Kelly?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes,
and they won't even need sugar or anything.
That's right.
So I think we'll have a little fun with them there. I don't know that Santa Claus is going to appear, but I think we can. Maybe they'll have a cookie for me, though.
That's
we
right.
don't know. But lots of days of grace here, celebrating the Our Lady of Guadalupe celebrations with St. Anthony on the south side of Des Moines, and then Christ the King as well. Those two parishes, the vibrancy, the music, and the dancing, and they put up with my Spanish too. So they're very good people, and I think the diversity of the diocese represented. But she's a Mary, Our Lady of Guadalupe, a mother of all of us, wherever our nationality, and as a people of America, the continent, as St. John Paul II told us, we all look to her for intercession and to help us transcend any of those kind of ethnic or other differences, things that we might fix upon, but really the basis that enriched. And of course, Mary's heart turned in particular to her poor ones in her midst, spiritually poor, which we all hopefully cultivate that attitude, but those who are materially poor, for whom this may be a very tough winter, as the prices are higher, fuel and everything else. So we look not simply to our politicians, but each of us to do what we can to rally and be a neighbor to those in need, that we don't give in to the kind of throwaway culture as Pope Francis cautions us along the way. So Our Lady of Guadalupe, pray for us. And then the blessing of dedicating the altar at the new Iowa Catholic Radio studios. Excuse me. I'm still thinking of its former identity as the Intervisions Clinic, but now it's generating life in a new way, the life of the Spirit as we announce the gospel and the good news and the richness of our faith. Iowa Catholic Radio, our great partner as well. And so that will be now even more a kind of spiritual nucleus where people can come and pray. Very occasionally there'll be masses celebrated there, and so it's something that I think will be a place that combines the witness of the media, the technology. We're to be savvy in that regard, using the means available to us, and I think the footprint expanding throughout Southwest Iowa too. Still kind of thinking about the year of St. Joseph. The Pope concluded on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, but as I'm going to be reflecting in my column in the Mirror this month, Joseph has not left the building. He remains with us. He's present in the stable. Obviously, his protection in the flight to Egypt, and then in the home of Nazareth. And so that kind of hidden life that Joseph has, he's a dreamer. In a different sense than we sometimes use that word in a political culture, but he's one then who's bold enough to act on that. And so he calls us not to be timid in our desires, but to let justice and mercy embrace in the Christ child too. So a very beautiful piece as well. Boy, those men at the Man Up, just as also meeting, I was invited to appear several weeks ago at the First Friday breakfast. Again, these are invitations, and I try to be open to as many as possible to engage different groups so that we can listen and respond, and hopefully I can communicate a sense of what does it mean to be human, what is it to be a man in Christ, what does it mean to be a father and a brother to each other. So we're grateful for that.
All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by CTO. What great news for donors to the Catholic Tuition Organization. You now receive 75%. Yes, 75% of your donation back in Iowa tax credits beginning January 1st of this year. Your support has helped thousands of students attend our Catholic schools. Best gift ever. Online, ctoiowa.org. At CTO, the bottom line, it's for the kids and their future.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Savage Power.
On behalf of the Intervisions Healthcare family, we wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. At our clinic, birthdays are an important milestone which we celebrate. Since our doors opened in 2011, more than 1,300 at-risk mothers facing an unplanned pregnancy have chosen life. This Christmas season, join us in thanking God for the joyful blessings and the great work He's doing at Intervisions Healthcare. For more information about our clinics in West and South Des Moines, visit ivhcare.org.
Welcome back. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. On today's show, we're visiting with Kendall Joensen of Assumption Parish in Granger. He's written a book that is called Grounded, A Different Kind of War. It'll be available for purchase in early January. It's about his life as a naval aviator and diagnosis with multiple sclerosis.
Kendall, so great to have you here. I feel, our connection established when I celebrated the patronal feast of the Assumption at Assumption Granger way back in August. And we just happened to chat each other up at the meal there. And I was just really struck that here's a man who gets it. I mean, he's getting it. But that did not come automatically for you. And
no, it sure did.
The book and the story, a very compelling one that we're going to kind of hopefully unfold some of this and hopefully awaken some interest for folks, because it really is a witness. I closed my previous segment talking about what it means to be a man in Christ, and you were a man in full, or maybe a man who was full of himself for a portion of your life. But the Lord is, as you say, merciful, and it waits on us in so many ways, and you responded to His grace in so many ways. But I guess kind of the story as a kind of a native Iowan, you kind of talked about the ways in which sometimes Iowans and military people can be rather proud and things, and your disposition as a young man growing up, and you wanted to be where the action was, and kind of a leader in so many ways, even as you were in school at William Penn. So maybe just kind of set this table for us on the initial phase of your life.
That is exactly right. I wanted to lead and to be in the action, as you say, in every walk, in sports, even academically in school. I wanted to excel if I could, and thanks be to God, I did in many ways, but not sure that was the obvious direction to go. And it took me about half a century to figure out that maybe my path in life was not exactly what God had intended for me, I guess. And just to talk about the military service, I didn't just want to serve. I wanted to fly, and specifically, I wanted to fly pointy-nose airplanes, and not just from A to B. I wanted to be a knight in the sky. I wanted to be a warrior. So in essence, I was kind of a poster boy for recruiters because, starry-eyed kid from small town middle America, gung-ho and committed, kind of thing. And and plus I looked pretty good in the uniform, I must say. So there you go.
Yeah. So you man, for part of your life, a baseball uniform, but then as you gravitate toward the military and you looked at the different branches of the service as well, Top Gun maybe caught your attention a little bit as a movie, and
absolutely
loving that, kind of awaken that. So, and again, you're in student government. You're very candid at different points, and in the book that we're talking about, again, Grounded, A Different Kind of War, you had another kind of companion piece to that, The Gift, and you talk about, you're basically a stand-up guy, but you fell prey to some things too that maybe academically in the crunch of the moment, a little bit of plagiarism there and being called out on that, but God continuing to help you to discover what is right and good as well. You're very self-effacing throughout the book, and the Navy over the other disciplines, like you say, I think the other branches of the service. What was it about the Navy as opposed to the Air Force, the Marines, for instance, where you could fly jets there too?
Right. Basically, I wanted to land on ships, so that took the Air Force out of the picture pretty quickly. So it was a Marine Corps or Navy choice. And I had actually thought I was going to be a Marine first. But then I started looking at the number of fighters that both branches have, right? And I realized my chances of flying jets were much better in the Navy. And so that pretty much cemented my decision. Of course, I soon learned the flaw in my logic is once you land on a ship, that is really cool and fun to do, and it's something to be proud of. But once you land there, that's where you live. And
that didn't figure in your calculation then, huh?
Yeah. I'm not nearly as smart as I look, I guess. I don't know, Winston Churchill said something like, serving aboard a ship is a lot like prison with a slightly increased risk of drowning. And I would say that's a pretty spot on characterization. And living on a ship is not fun. Yeah. Okay. But anyway.
Well, for some of us, it would be a recipe for claustrophobia, but you have some other kind of harrowing stories here. And, the time and now you were flying, is it a Douglas TA-4J Skyhawk? Is that right? That was one of your main jets that you piloted? Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but you describe a carrier landing where the carrier was rolling in the waves, 34-foot differential, and actually seeing the screws of the ship come out of the water, and you were trying to land that. I mean, that's it would seared in anybody's memory.
It certainly was in mine. I saw that twice. Once near Tasmania. And once up the time you're speaking of happened up near where they filmed The Deadliest Catch up around the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. The water's big in those places. And, the deck is 60 feet from the surface of the water. And I have seen green water come over the bow of the ship. So that tells you how big the waves are up there sometimes. And incidentally, on that day, I was the last guy to land. They closed down flight ops right after I landed. So
a distinction that few would aspire to in that way. But you contrast that, and again, you were stationed in different places: San Diego, Japan, Fallon, Nevada, among them. But you were. You talk about, the various ratings that they give people on their landings and everything else. And, the abysmal worst grade one can get was called no apparent fear of death, NAFOD. Can you describe that and distinguish that from the mindset that prevails? I mean, whether you're in a combat situation or whether you're trying to, land on a tiny postage stamp size ship in the middle of the ocean. Was there a kind of calmness that came over you, or a fearlessness, or was it just a kind of cowboy mentality?
It certainly wasn't a cowboy mentality, and that's why that grade actually exists. You should not take risks willy-nilly. There's a definite, it's like, self-preservation. And if there's no apparent self-preservation in your mindset that is visible, those guys don't last very long. Those people are gone in a hurry. And I've never met an aviator who wants to take unnecessary chances. The difference, I guess, would be, sane people would say, geez, that was scary. I'm never doing that again. But aviators have to do it again and again and again, where they're taking risk, but they're calculated risks. They're not, it's not anything too crazy. And thankfully, I think at least in the Navy, they've kind of figured out the accident rate is pretty low. Last I heard, it's, like 2 point something, maybe even lower than that per $100,000. So it's much safer than it used to be.
The process works. The formation works for you all.
Yeah.
Well, let's move quickly then to 1995, Thanksgiving, first sensation that you had of something maybe not right with your body, and move really into the whole spiritual core of this book. And it is a very spiritual narrative, maybe not quite Augustine's Confessions, but I think your transparency and your vulnerability is very evident. Right. And so your life changed very dramatically.
Right. In November of 1995, I was scheduled to fly in the only two-seat airplane that we had in our squadron at the time. And my backseater just happened to be the squadron's flight surgeon. So our doctor, right? And so I didn't really ask or fess up to my issues, but I was experiencing some numbness. Doctors, I think, refer to it as paresthesia on the right side of my body. I'd been diagnosed with sciatica a month or so prior to that, and so after the flight with the doctor in my backseat, I said to him after our debrief, "Hey, I've got this sciatica thing bugging me again. What should I do?" And as I said it, I made a motion with my hand showing him that it was the entire right side of my body. And of course, if you know anything about the human body, sciatica doesn't affect your head, right? It's lower, it's in your back, right? So, but who knew? Obviously he did. He said to me, well, why don't you swing by the office this afternoon and we'll check it out. And I told him, well, geez, I like to, Doc, but I've got another flight scheduled. And his answer was, no, you don't. And that was the last air combat maneuvering hop I ever flew in my life. That it ended right there. So,
and the
pretty abrupt change in one's life.
Yes, and your world is just turned upside down because as you talk about your whole sense of who you were and what you found fulfilling in life. At that point, you're very candid, even exceeding your sense of being a husband and a father. Was really all tied in the military and your flying prowess and all that you're able to do that. So things quickly led to medical interventions and things that you were about, different treatments, coming to terms with the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, fears and things like that. Can you tell us about the toll those treatments took on your whole affect and what some of the spiritual struggles were with that?
Sure. It took several years for me to come to terms with that whole issue. I mean, flying is, doing what I did for a living was kind of like, I don't know, an insatiable, almost drug. I mean, you get addicted to doing that for a living, and it's fun, more fun than a human should be allowed. But so having that taken away it was very difficult. And of course, then there's the physical side of your disease is progressing the whole time, and it really I tried all the different MS drugs. None of them really did a whole heck of a lot for me. And eventually I decided that I should have a stem cell transplant. And so that's where I ended up in Seattle. I had a stem cell transplant. Not really sure how I pronounce this. Autologous. That's where they take your own stem cells, cryogenically freeze them, and then they condition your body through chemotherapy, mostly, and bring your immune system down to nothing, and then they give you your stem cells back. And in doing so, it's I liken it to rebooting your computer kind of thing, but you're doing that for your immune system. MS is simply your immune system kind of gone awry, and instead of doing what it's supposed to do, it attacks your nervous system a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway,
I mean, very grueling treatment, harrowing moments. I mean, they really kind of take you to the brink of your own, existence and that. Did the spiritual toll, did your very life itself, I mean, very tenuous thing, did you think about why am I here, and is it worth it? Is it worth it? Maybe it'd be better if God just kind of took me now.
I did think about all those things, and I considered that very thing, Bishop. And like I say, it took me a long time to get through that, mentally. But I think God ultimately, well, actually, we know this, has a plan for us all. And I think MS was simply a tool that he used to make me understand my place in the universe. It took a while, but it changed me, and I think for the better. I hope people would agree with that, but I don't know. Jury's still out, I guess, because
that's what we want to talk about. As we'll take a pause here, Kendall. But that would we really like to focus on too. Your wife Sherry, your role as a father, and the kind of awakening they had. And so we'll do that when we come back.
We're going to take. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Making It Personal on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Savage Power.
On behalf of the Intervisions Healthcare family, we wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. At our clinic, birthdays are an important milestone which we celebrate. Since our doors opened in 2011, more than 1,300 at-risk mothers facing an unplanned pregnancy have chosen life. This Christmas season, join us in thanking God for the joyful blessings and the great work He's doing at Intervisions Healthcare. For more information about our clinics in West and South Des Moines, visit ivhcare.org.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. We are back with Kendall Joensen.
Thanks for hanging with us, Kendall. Your wife Sherry became Catholic. You were both married just right out of college at William Penn, a very young couple. You started a family very quickly. Your two sons, Nick and Alex. But you said at some point, Sherry was kind of a single parent for much of your life, and so the MS hits, and you kind of gaining a perspective on yourself and a transformation that's happening. And so, could you kind of unpack that for our listeners?
Sure. We were married fairly young, and Sherry, she's a saint. She's a godsend. She did have to raise our boys to a large extent exclusively on her own, because as a Navy guy, you're out at sea a lot, and you're not there. And then when I came back after my diagnosis, it took a while. I kind of spent some time gazing at my naval, contemplating my existence, and meanwhile my kids are growing up. So that was an issue. But if I may cut to the chase here, I think this book kind of outlines all that. But if I were to bring it down to the crux of the matter, there's before MS and there's after MS, and I think St. Paul would say it best in his second letter to the Corinthians. If we talk about all the great things I did as a naval officer and all that sort of thing, it kind of feels like I'm boasting, but he would say, if I boast, let me boast of my weakness. And the short answer is, back when I was young and strong and fit and smart and all the things that went into being a fighter pilot, I did absolutely nothing for my fellow man, absolutely nothing for my personal sanctification. I was just existing, and it was like, I got this. I'm going to do my will. And that's not a way to live. You really should be a little bit more about God's will, obviously. And we don't, when we say the Our Father, we're not saying my will be done. We're saying thy will be done. And it took me about half a century to kind of figure that out. But I think I'm on a path now that hopefully will lead to eternity with Jesus at some point.
I'll see. I hope. I've been privileged to come to know you the after Kendall, and it's a very powerful witness just who you are. I mean, as you said, and you'll say in the book, you're aiming for heaven, that God is merciful, and not maybe born again in the sense that some of our brothers and sisters in other Christian faiths speak about that, but that you're a whole awareness now, your witness and your weakness. You desire to be remembered for nothing is one of your quotes, and your job is to get your wife and your kids to heaven as well. And to quoting Matthew Kelly, to know your mission and not follow it, that's the source of our true misery. So you radiate a kind of joy. The experience of Christ renews his parish, not just once, but at least 7 times, if not more, with your friend Dave and the kind of witness that you give there. But, you strike me not a kind of experience groupie, but how this kind of radiates into your service in the many ways you do, whether it's just simply the world famous fish fries in Granger, your work with the Knights of Columbus. You'll probably be out. Will you be out with the Wreaths across America?
I will. Will I see you there, Bishop?
Well, I'm actually going to be involved with a retreat in Griswold for the men who are thinking about priesthood. So I'll be praying from you from afar.
Okay.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah, but you speak about yourself as a man who's sincere. There's not an ounce of deceit in you. And again, I don't feel like you're beating yourself up still. I think you're a free man. You radiate a kind of peace. All this with the cross of MS. And so I think the book, I heartily commend it to people. You mentioned it's coming out electronically January 1st. And your publisher as well, Concordus Publishing. And then a March 2nd release. Is that correct? The first day of Lent. How appropriate.
That is correct.
And so the cross.
We're going to release it in paper format on the first day of Lent.
Well, I commend it to all of our listeners. Grounded, a different kind of war.
All right. Thanks, Kendall. This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.